Hi everyone, in this lecture we're going to look at how to format text in Microsoft Excel. Now Excel, just like MS Word, can be used to customize and format your text on everything from size to style to color. Now the section that we'll be looking at on our ribbon is this bit here, the font section. Now this has all the controls which we need to customize and format our text in the context of font types and sizes, font styles, adding borders, changing the color of text, and changing the background fill color of a cell as well. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so font types and sizes. Now Excel basically uses whatever fonts you have installed on your computer to enable you to change your text to that font. So to give you two examples of font types, I've got the words here, Hello World. Now this font is basically Calibri. Then I've got the same text here, and this font is Times New Roman. Now, how do we change a selection of text to a different font? Well, what we do is we've got two ways, and the first is either to simply highlight the cell, like this, and the second way is to double click in the cell and select our text. Now, when we do select our text, you'll actually see this pop-up window come up. Now, this window is basically the same controls that we have here. So we're going to use this control part instead of the pop-up window, just for consistency's sake. Okay, so now that our text is highlighted, if we head on over to here and we click this drop-down box, we can then pick our selection of fonts. And if you'll notice, folks, that when we scroll down our list, the actual words Hello World change as well. So this real-time feature of Microsoft Excel is really good because you can basically preview how your text will look like as you're changing the font in the list. So let's just pick a different type of font. In this case, I'm going to go with a really nice and simple one, Arial. There. Now, as you can see, our text has changed to the Arial type font. Okay, now the next thing we're going to look at is how to change the font size. Now, there are basically three ways you can do this. The first way, with our selected cell or cells or selected text, you basically then click here and you'll notice you've got a range of predefined font sizes. Now you can basically select any one of these or you can type your own one in. In this case, I'm going to select font size 12. Okay. Now the second and third ways to do it are to basically use these two buttons here. And this one basically just increases the font size to make your text bigger. And this one basically decreases it to make it smaller. Another thing to note, folks, is you can also go in 0.5 iterations of your font size. So let's just say, for example, you didn't want to choose size 12 and you didn't want to choose size 11, but something in between. Well, then you'd simply type in the font size box, 11.5, and there you go. So you can have 0.5 sizes in your font sizes when specifying how large or small you want your text. Now, this menu bit here basically can be expanded into a bigger dialog box, and you get that by clicking here. And then you head on over to the font tab, and as you can see, the options are all there, what we had here, but it's a bit more expanded. Now, you can pretty much replicate whatever you did here in this dialog box. The only difference, though, is that your changes aren't applied in real time. So you'd have to click OK after you've made your changes for the desired effect to be applied on this text. Another way to access this dialog box is if you right-click with your mouse, go to Format Cells, and then make sure you've got the Font tab. So you've got both ways in which you can adjust the type and size of your font. And you can also do other things such as the font styles and fill the background cell colors and add borders. Now, which way you choose is down to you. Some people for convenience like using the ribbon part here, while some people want a bit more in-depth control and prefer the dialog box. Okay, let's take a look at font styles. Now, with every font that you select for your text, you can basically apply a style of either having it bolded, italic, underlined, or double underlined. Now, the first three, bold, italic, and underlined, are present on this menu. And to get double underlined, you simply click here and go double underline. Now, various reports and documents, for example, require the use of emphasizing your text. So, for example, if you've got headers in your report, you might want to just make the actual header bolded, just so it stands out. And similarly, if you want something underlined to emphasize a point. So, just to give you a quick example of the different types of styles, let's start with our basic hello world with no style. In other words, it's normal. Now we've applied a bolded effect. On this one, we've got an italic effect. On this one, underline. And this one, double underline. Now we can also combine styles. So if we wanted something bolded and italic, we can do that. For example, here. And similarly, if we wanted something bolded and underlined, we can do that here. Notice that as we go through the selected styles, if a style is present here, the button will be pressed down. So in this case, this one's italic, and you can see it's slightly grayed out to indicate it's been activated. Now again, you can apply font styles using the ribbon here, or the dialog box, or you can use keyboard shortcuts. So for example, Control B would bold your text, Control I would make your text italic, and Control U would underline your text. Okay, adding borders. Now you can add borders around cells in Microsoft Excel. Now there are various ways you can do this. One of the most useful ways is to use the border grid option, which I find quite useful, just because it's really easy to do. Now with all the borders, you can adjust the style of the line and the colour. And you can also add the border using the ribbon menu or the dialog box, which we covered earlier. So how to activate the border grid option? Well, you go here, click, you go all the way down here to draw border grid. And as you can see, we get these little dots that pop up. And what this enables us to do is basically make it easier for us to add a border similar to how you draw something. So to do that, you just take your left mouse button, press it down, and drag across whatever you want bordered. So as you can see, Excel is updating as I move my mouse. Then when you've got your selected range of cells, you simply let go of your mouse button. There. Now, to get rid of our grid option, you simply press Escape. There. Now as you can see, we've got our borders applied fairly quickly. Now, another way to apply the border is to basically select your cells. You can right click with your mouse, go to Format Cells, click this tab here, Border, and then you've got three presets, none, outline, and inside. Or if you want to individually add a border to say a part of the cell, say the top, you can click here, for example. Now one thing to note, folks, which is often a common pet peeve in Microsoft Excel, is that if you, for example, have applied a border like this, and let's say you press OK. There, we've got our line here. Now let's say we wanted to go back and change that a bit. We go to Format Cells again. Now, here's the pet peeve. Basically, if I wanted to change the thickness of the line, for example, you'd think that would do it if you just select this and that's it, the border will update. Let's take a look. What happens? I press OK. See that? Nothing happened. Now, why is that? Well, basically, what you have to do is go back, select your style again, then click again, and you can see your border has thickened. Now, if you press OK, you get your applied borderline. So that's just a little common pet peeve when you do it via the dialog box. Now, of course, the other way is to use the ribbon part. Again, let's just select these two cells. Go here, click. Now, let's just say I want to apply a border to the left. So you go left. There. See that? So that's how you apply borders. Now, similarly, you can change the colors of these borders or the thickness of the lines, which we saw earlier. So to change the color, for example, let's take this. You simply highlight the cells, then right click, format cells, go to color, and then select a color. So in this case, let's go with light blue. Now again, you can see that our border lines haven't changed, and that's because it's still using the style from the previous. So what we have to do is basically just click each one, and you can see it's going blue. Then you press OK. There. Our border style has now changed color. So that's how you add borders. Now, similarly, to actually get rid of borders, you basically reverse your actions. So for example, let's say we want to get rid of all this. We'd simply select it, right click, format cells, and we go to none. There, the border's removed. Now again, you can also use this bit here. Just go to no border. Okay, so let's look at changing the color of text. Now this is a very popular feature of Microsoft Excel, which people use a lot. Now you would change ideally the color of text to emphasize, for example, bad news, where you would, for example, change the font color to red. Or if you want to emphasize good news, you'd probably change it to green. Now, to do this, it's very easy. All you have to do is select your cells or text, and then head on over to this button here, font color. So let's just do one. I'm going to type the words hello world. So we select our cell, we go to font color. Now you can use any one of these colors or the standard colors, or if you go to more colors, you can then make up your own colors. So in this case, we're just going to change it to green. There. And that's how you do it. Similarly, if you want to go back to say black, you select this again, click here and go to automatic, or you could select black. There. Now again, you can do this with the ribbon menu or the dialog box. So for the dialog box, again, you select your cell, you'd right click, you'd go format cells, then you go to font, and then where it says color, you basically then would pick your color. Changing the background fill color of a cell. Now this is another real popular feature of Microsoft Excel, just because you can use this to do so many things. You can use this in a traffic light system, for example, where you would have green, yellow, and red. You could also use this to highlight particular words where you think it might be better for it to stand out, keeping the font size black, for example. Now again, you can use the supplied colors that Microsoft Excel gives you, or you can make your own, and you can change the color using the ribbon menu or dialog box. So let's just say I wanted to color this cell red. I'd head on over here, click down, and click like that, and that's red. Now let's try it with some text. So we've got hello world. Now what you do is select your cell, head on over, and let's give this light blue. There. Now you might actually notice that the coloring hasn't actually gone all the way to the end of the word of world. The reason this is because remember, you're coloring the cell, not the actual text. So if you wanted it to cover the whole bit of the word, you'd simply expand the column. See that? So that's how you change the background fill color of a cell. Now to do this with the dialog box, you'd simply highlight what you want, right click, format cells, go to fill, and you've got your effects here. Now there are a couple of more options using the dialog box, and that includes the pattern style, where you can select different types of patterns, and also fill effects, where you can apply, say, a gradient. Now, unless you really need to, folks, I would probably advise you to stay away from pattern style, just because they don't really add much in terms of clarity. So I would probably avoid that. With fill effects, that is optional. They are pretty good when it comes to charts, but when it comes to just normal background shading of cells, I think basically solid colours are better, and perhaps more lighter tone colours. Okay, so that's how we change the background fill colour of a cell. Okay, so that concludes this lecture. Thank you for listening and watching. We have covered how to adjust font sizes, apply font styles, add borders, change the font colour, and how to change the background cell colour. We have used both the font ribbon menu and the dialog box. Now remember, which method you use is down to user preference and the level of control you need in your spreadsheet. If there are any questions or queries, please feel free to reach out.